Hi, it's KCCK's Culture Crawl. I'm Dennis Green, and my guests today are from the National Czech and Slovak Museum and Library in Cedar Rapids. Jim Miller, who's the Vice President of Development there. Jim, welcome.
Good morning. Hello, everyone.
And Stephanie Cohn, who's the curator of the National Czech and Slovak Museum. Hi, Stephanie. Nice to have you with me, too.
Hello. Thanks for having us.
Well, Christmas time and the holiday time, always a busy time at the museum. I'm sure even during a pandemic, too. And I know you've got a couple of special exhibitions going on. So, Stephanie, let's start there. Tell me about the exhibitions. I know that one of them is a traveling exhibition that you've brought in, but the other one is from a glass collection from somebody who lives right here locally. So tell me about Joyce Anderson and her Czech glass collection.
Well, we're having on display right now the Joyce Anderson collection. It's called Formed in Fire because that's how glass is made, is with a lot of heat and other techniques. And Joyce Anderson is a native Cedar Rapidian, and she's been collecting glass nearly her entire life. Beautiful Czech glass pieces. She kind of learned that from her mother. Her mother, Evelyn Lamparek, was a really high level glass collector. So Joyce learned from the best really how to find the good pieces. And Joyce buys what she wants, but what she wants is really beautiful things. And so she's been very generous in donating pieces to the National Czech and Slovak Museum and Library collection for many years now. And we finally are putting a lot of her pieces on display in our Petrick Gallery. And that'll be open until April 11th. So there's plenty of time to come see it. And it's just gorgeous. The Czech glass is so high quality and so beautiful. And a lot of different types are collected by Joyce. So it's a big variety for people to see.
So tell me a little bit about the history of Czech glassmaking. You said that it is unusually great. So, how did that craftsmanship start? How is it different from other countries and stuff in the period? What's the story behind Czech glassmaking?
Well, it's been around for many centuries. Some of the Czech lands just happen to have the natural resources that are necessary for making glass, which is certain types of sand and other additives. And the glassware first started kind of utilitarian when people first started making it, and maybe a little bit decorative. And it was quite expensive. 1,000 years ago, glass was pretty expensive and only the wealthy really had it. But then it kind of techniques were developed to make it a little bit easier to produce. It takes a lot of materials and a lot of heat and a lot of craftsmanship. So I probably am biased when I say the Czech glass is the best because there's beautiful glass from Italy and Germany and all over the world. But the Czech craftsmen just really honed their skills, and there's certain glass cities and regions where glass factories sprung up. And some important advances, some jewelry cutting techniques were applied to glass. And then all of a sudden there were glass crystals created that look just like gems, only they're made of glass. So that was a really important breakthrough. And it kind of carried over to decorating the glass vases and stemware and decanters and things you might think of that would be made of glass, in that there's a lot of cutting and dyeing, even dyeing the glass. Glass used to just be kind of like a milky white, but then people started learning how to add certain elements and compounds to the glass. Metallic compounds can make the glass be red or blue or yellow. So that really sparked people's interest in collecting the glass.
You said that Joyce learned her glass collecting skills from her mom. So I assume the collection probably has some things that go back quite a ways, not only from Joyce's collection, but were maybe acquired by her mother.
Yeah, we do have some pieces that her mother donated to the museum a long time ago, and they're just stunning. And a lot of the beautiful Czech glassware is probably from 1880s until the 1920s and 30s is when a lot of the pieces that you can collect here in the United States that's the era that they tend to be from. And so they're really really high quality materials and craftsmanship, and a lot of really unique pieces that you don't see the same piece over and over. It's always something different. Like, I've never seen this vase before.
Well, and I just think it's not as a curator, I think it's interesting also just to see the very different styles. So you have a gallery full of glass, but totally different styles. I happened to be in there one day last week, and a couple looking at the end of day glass, which people may not. It's the leftover pieces at the end of the day, but just fascinating to see the colors and such different styles. It's really really interesting to see.
You said that Joyce herself has stopped by to have a look, and she spent a little extra time at the museum afterwards.
She did, yes. Joyce again lives locally, and came to see the exhibit, of course, and then was kind enough to stop in our museum store and bought some more glassware. So that's good too. So we'll take it. So
Already investing for the next show.
That's fair enough. That's true, Dennis. Yeah.
The other exhibit that's going on is a traveling exhibit, and it's all about textiles, and particularly textiles that date from a couple's work related to the Holocaust. So tell me about that, Stephanie.
Well, this is a really interesting exhibit. It's called Stitching History from the Holocaust, and it's on loan from the Jewish Museum, Milwaukee. And it's such an interesting story. There was a Jewish couple who lived in Prague in the 1930s, Paul and Hedy Strnad, and they were very concerned about Hitler taking over what was then Czechoslovakia and the Jews being rounded up. So Paul wrote to his cousin Alvin in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and he sent the dress designs of his wife, Hedy. She had a very successful shop in Prague and was a dress designer. And he had hoped that they could get a sponsor based on her talent and skills to get them out of Czechoslovakia. So he wrote to his cousins and told their story, sent the dress designs. And unfortunately, they did not make it out. They eventually ended up in a concentration camp and were killed in the Holocaust. So that's the tragedy of their story. But what happened was, since people never throw anything away, apparently, these letters and the dress designs were found in Alvin's, some relative of Alvin's basement. Somebody found those in Milwaukee and took them to the Jewish Museum in Milwaukee. So for a long time in their permanent exhibit, they had these designs, on paper and the letters on display. And then somebody said, why don't you create these dresses? So it was a really exciting project that the Jewish Museum Milwaukee embarked on to work with, I think it was the costume shop of the Milwaukee Repertory Theater, show them these designs. So somebody had to make the patterns. They actually made the fabric. Some of it's hand block printed to try to match the fabrics in Hedy's designs. So these were created so that the clothes that we have 8 outfits on display, and those were created, with like in the maybe 10, 15 years ago. They were not from the 30s. The designs are from 1939, but the costumes were created. And so those are on display along with a lot of the reproduction of the letters and the story of Paul and Hedy, and also the story of, it's kind of a story of like the talent that was lost. The Holocaust had a huge human cost. And in that human cost is also the loss of creativity and talent and things that were never realized because the people's lives were cut short. So it's the dresses are just stunning. I mean, people who like, vintage clothing would love to see these dresses. And even though the patterns are vintage and the fabric is reproduction of what vintage would look like, but they are modern creations by the theater department.
You're absolutely right in that when most of us think of the Holocaust, we think in terms of the human tragedy, but maybe we think a little bit less about the books that were never written, the music
Right.
that was never composed, the art, including, textile and clothing art that was never created because people's lives were cut short.
Right. And in part of the exhibit, we added some of our own artifacts because the concentration camp in the former Czechoslovakia was called Terezin or Theresienstadt in German. And that was where it was a model camp that the Nazis created. And they sent people that they were too afraid to kill or famous people, composers, artists, they ended up there. And a lot of them eventually were shipped off to Auschwitz and were killed. But for a while, they lived in this camp. And so we have money from that camp. It's specially created money that a Czech artist was told to design, this money for the Nazi camp. And it really wasn't good for anything except for apparently borrowing library books at the camp. I mean, it wasn't real money, but we have that on display. And then we have reproductions of these really haunting children's drawings. There was a famous many famous artists, but a famous artist staying at the camp, and she taught art to all the children there, and she saved every single painting and drawing the children made. So it was over 4,000 drawings. And before she and the children were eventually shipped off to Auschwitz, but before she left, she hid all the drawings into some suitcases in the children's dormitory. So they were found after the camps were liberated, and the originals are at the Jewish Museum in Prague. I'm not sure the actual name of that museum, but we have some reproductions that we had framed and put on display. So we tell the story kind of to supplement the exhibition. We tell the story of this Terezin concentration camp where a lot of very talented, creative people were sent. And we also have music playing in the gallery that was composed in Terezin.
Both of these exhibits are on now and will be running through the spring. So all of us probably looking for something safe and fun to do, maybe during the holiday break. So the museum would be a great place to do that. So Jim, tell me a little bit about, I know that obviously everybody's operations are different. I know the museum is open, but I also know that you're taking precautions so that people can visit and visit safely. So tell me about hours and about precautions and how you're continuing to keep things going during the pandemic.
Yes, like everyone, yes, we have changed how we operate, but yes, we're open 7 days a week, Monday through Saturday, 9:30 to 4, and Sunday noon to 4. The only day we will be closed is Christmas Day. But yes, we reopened in middle of June, and then we're open and then closed for about 12 days after the derecho, but we are open and 7 days a week. We do require masks, and we have masks if folks don't have those. And we have hand sanitizer stations throughout the building, and certainly social distancing. We do, when we have the numbers here, we do ticket people. So again, we space out visits to the gallery so we don't have 20 people going into one gallery. But that is not every day. But yes, we're very, very careful with how many people are in the building and where they're at in the building. So again, we just ask folks to be respectful of that. And again, we do require masks, but we offer those masks if folks don't have them. And we also have done the same with our museum store. Many people visit that. We have expanded and relocated the store across the hall into one of our ballrooms. So again, it's very spread out, very safe. So again, people have room to walk around, room to shop without being crowded in there. So our attendance is good, but certainly it is different, COVID, like everyone, but we're doing what we can.
We often talk about shopping local. Well, the museum store is a place where you can pick up unique gifts with a Czech flavor anytime.
We have a huge line of ornaments that are hand blown, mouth blown, that people, it is tradition that they come and buy an ornament. We also have our beloved artist and volunteer, Marge Nadel. Many people know her. She's a master Czech artist, and we produce one ornament each year that she designs, and it's a limited edition, and she is on site, not every day, but she's on site to personalize ornaments. And again, we have folks that have bought an ornament that Marge has made or personalized for years. So it's tradition for folks, but it's a great mix. And again, lots of Iowa artists and Iowa folks for books and art and other things, but a good mix.
Does the store have any of its merchandise online? Can people look or order?
It does. We do, yes. Certainly this year we have put even more. Yes, our store website. We ship things all over. We are free shipping, and if you are in the area, we will ship it to you, or we will hand deliver it to your front porch if you want that. So yes, we try and make it as easy as possible, whether you're in Cedar Rapids or out of the state, to get your merchandise to you.
The National Czech and Slovak Museum and Library, great place to spend some time over the holiday season. Take in the exhibits Formed in Fire or Stitching History from the Holocaust. Or, of course, you can visit the expanded museum store. Make sure and you're able to shop safely and maybe pick up something unique for the people on your socially distanced holiday list. Stephanie and Jim, thanks so much for being with me today.
Thank you.
Again, it's ncsml.org. If you'd like to know more about any of the exhibits, order online, check hours, or prepare your visit to the National Czech and Slovak Museum and Library in Cedar Rapids. You can hear the Culture Crawl live on the radio many weekdays at 10:20, or download the podcast, watch or listen on your own schedule at kcck.org/culture, or using your favorite podcast app. I'm Dennis Green, and I'll talk to you later.